Hi, Stamper fans. I'm Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois, and I am here to help you connect with your people, whether that means gathering together to craft or you crafting homemade items to share with them. It's all about making and deepening those connections. So let's get to it. All righty. First of all, I want to share Friday night stamping. I did share the results earlier on my socials, but I wanted to share them here. So this was Russ's card, and this is my card. My card was the winner this week, but not by too much, actually. We got quite a few votes, which I love. And I love when we both get votes. It's just nice. So this one, though, didn't come off in the photograph, probably. Hello. It is a cool fun fold that he did. So, and this is with that Full of Life paper that I used last week. So a very different looking kind of card with it. Super fun. I was telling him I felt like this could be a cool Christmas card with non-traditional colors because of the bow kind of reminded me of Christmas gift wrap, probably because it's spruce. But yeah, so I wanted to make sure to share that with you so you could see the cool little fun fold he did too, because that doesn't always come off in a photograph. So, but we are making the moose card tonight. I have other versions of this same card to show you at the end, so make sure you stick around. Yeah, see, awesome as a Christmas card. And I feel like, you could even throw it in traditional colors and it would really come off Christmassy, right? So, and the bonus there is since it's a fun fold, there's not a lot of room to write. So for those people on your Christmas list that you don't really know very well and you're just not sure what to write, those kinds of things are great. So okay, so our Fun Moose card is using a new bundle called Christmas Friends. You all know, if you've been following us for a hot minute, that we love a cute critter. And I just look at these pudgy little guys. They're just so cute. And I didn't even realize when I ordered this bundle that it has puns in it as well. So you've got the bear here, and there's a sentiment that says, "Have a berry Merry Christmas." And then you've got an owl and it says, "I will be thinking of you this season." I love a pun. Oh my gosh, this is like so many things I love all wrapped up in one cute stamp set. And then it also has coordinating dies. So each of the critters and the tree can be die cut. And there's also some fun little doodads and who's its and what's its. So if you're confused about these guys, these are presents, and I'll show you in one of the other samples I have. And these are gift wrap ribbons to go over the presents. But you've got little musical notes and stars. The musical notes are because that little mousy, he's out caroling, which I used to love to do. So I don't know if I would love to do it anymore because I don't like the cold. So maybe I could carol inside. So anyway, that bundle will be available starting on Wednesday, September 4th in our new mini catalog. This is what we in the Northern Hemisphere refer to as our holiday catalog usually, or winter catalog, kind of depends. In the South Pacific, obviously they're going into summer. So they're not looking for winter ideas. But cool thing is, and I'll be able to show you this inside starting on Wednesday, there is a Santa that's on a surfboard in this catalog. So there's a little something for everybody in every climate you might reside in. So, all right. So I will share inside of that with you later on this week. But we are using this bundle to make this card. Let's see. Reminder, there is a link to the supply list in the video description, and measurements I share exclusively with my email newsletter subscribers. So if you do not yet subscribe to that, there is also a link for that in the video description. They come out weekly and include all the measurements for my live tutorials, plus an additional free tutorial that has both metric and imperial measurements, color combos, sketch layouts, all the regular news from Stampin' Up! So you always are apprised of any promotions, sales, anything like that, new products, stuff like that. Okay, let's get to it. I have done some pre-stamping and some pre-die cutting. so that we can move along pretty quickly tonight because, you know, again, if you've been following for a hot minute, you kind of know how to do a lot of these things. But I'd be happy to help you if you do need that kind of help. If you're new here, that's what I've lived for, is to help people discover the art of stamping and how easy it is. So we are starting with a base of thick white cardstock because it will hold up like, you know, on your mantle. It will stand up very nicely and display to all of your jealous friends that don't get handmade cards. So yes, I did some pre-stamping and pre-die cutting because I wanted to concentrate on a couple of other little things like the coloring, especially of the moose, because I know that that's an area of intimidation and struggle for a lot of people, is coloring. It was for me for a very long time and still continues to be sometimes. So, you know, we can all just use some extra tips there, right? But first I want to show you, there is a big background stamp called Drizzling Droplets. Super fun. So you can use this for snow, you can use it for bubbles, you can use it for big raindrops, you could use it for champagne bubbles if you want to go upside down. Ooh, you could even use it for seaweed or, you know, bubbles in the sea, all sorts of things. Like, man, can you think of anything else? Drop them in the comments if you can think of anything else to use this for, because it's pretty versatile, really. But I will say, when I got, I kind of had everything laid out on this card, and I just wasn't, it was a little too plain. And so this was the last thing I did, was pull out this Drizzling Droplets stamp and decided to make some snow. And I did not want it to be like, wow, bright snow in your face. I wanted it to be more of a background thing. So I grabbed my Whisper White craft stamping pad. Now this ink pad I use for embossing a lot. If I want to do white embossing especially, I'll stamp the image in this, and then I'll put the white embossing powder over, and it makes it a little brighter, a little more opaque. But this is a great technique, a great stamp pad to use if you want kind of a more subtle background or a chalkboard effect. It's very good. I don't need a block penny because I'm using my glass mat. So I can just pop this right on here and it acts kind of like a glass block, and it'll just keep it in place. So then what I do, you'll notice that my card is wider than this stamp. So I am going to go ahead and do basically on the edge there. And I'm just using one of our acrylic blocks to kind of go over it. And that way I know it's going to get like all of the goodness. How nice is that? That was a good one. There it is. Like, I just put that down. I'm just going to ink it up again real quick. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put my finger right where that the edge of that is, so I know kind of where to put that down, because I just need to get the rest of it. And voila. So we've got a big bunchy there, no big deal, because sometimes snow comes down in clumps and that's fine. So with the craft ink pad, it stays wet for a while, and I will show you. See, it'll smear and get all over you. And I totally meant to do that, don't worry. But yes, so it will appear a little darker to start with, and then as it dries, it kind of soaks into the paper and becomes a little more subdued. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but anyway, you know what I mean. It's a little lighter. So yes, so craft pad. When you buy this, it's going to look a little different because it's going to look like our new ones. So you can tell how long I've had this, a very long time. But when you get your craft pad, it will come uninked. Because the ink is a little bit different, it is better if you ink it when you get it and you're going to use it, than if we have it sitting on the shelf forever. Then it kind of comes and it's not as gooey. It's not as, you know, moist. Sorry if any of you hate that word. But anyway, it comes with a re-inker. So you can go ahead and just ink up that pad when you first get it, and you're going to use it and it'll be all good to go. So it'll look slightly different than mine. Okay, that's that. Let's get our little chamois out. I use my one that came with my glass mat. I tell you, I love this thing. And I will also tell you that when you are cleaning the white ink off of your stamp, it takes quite a bit. Like, see? So it's all over my little cloth. It really gets in there. So it's not that hard to do. If you have one of our Stampin' Scrubs, which I also have, it gets into those grooves really well. You can also rinse it underwater if you want. So lots of different options. What I usually do is just give it a good dosing, and then I take a paper towel and kind of get in there. And we're good to go. All righty. So normally I would set that aside, or I would use my heat tool, which I did on Friday night, to dry that so that I could move on. But through the magic of television, I happen to have a dry one right here. So you can see, here, let me get that. You can see kind of the difference. Maybe you can't on camera, but it does show up here. This one is a little bit, just slightly brighter, I suppose. So yes. So here we have our snow. We are all good to go there. Let's put that aside. Let's get to coloring this reindeer. Okay, or not a reindeer, a moose. It's a pretty fat reindeer. Okay, we are going to start with our pecan pie. I'm sorry, I'm going to make you hungry again, just like I did, I don't know, last week or the week before. We got all sorts of pie coming out. So the pecan pie, and let me get you a little closer. That's kind of the whole point of this one. Okay, so I'm going to start with all of these shaded parts that the artist already drew in, right? So I'm going to just do some like dark pecan pie in those areas. Under his little pudgy belly, down his front, along his jawline, and I think just the top of the ears, and then along his, I don't know, the top of his head. I don't know parts of things. I am not an animal husbandry major, so, you know, zoology, any of that. So now I'm coming in with my light pecan pie, and I'm going right over those dark bits that I did with a circular motion. And that's going to help blend those in so there's not a harsh line, it's more blended. Hence the name, Stampin' Blends. I will say also that I have noticed what other people have mentioned is that when you're using the glass mat, the Stampin' Blends kind of stay wetter, I guess. They blend a little longer because if you have a piece of paper under there, of course, the ink is getting soaked into the paper because your ink will bleed through. But you'll notice nothing's on my mat. It's really nice. I'm sure if I laid down a lot of color, there would be stuff on my mat, but yeah, it just blends much nicer on the glass mat. You absolutely can have just paper or whatever down, but you definitely, whoa. One of my lights just suddenly went out. Not sure what happened there. But yes, you definitely want to have something down to protect your surface. So whether that's like grid paper or scrap paper, copy paper, whatever you want. So now I'm going to come in with my peach pie, make you a little hungrier again. And we are going to do his muzzle. And this, I think, yes, nope, that's light. I want the dark first. We're going to come in with the dark peach pie. And again, we've got a little shading on his muzzle. So I'm just going to do kind of where it meets his fur. And then I'm going to go up the outside of his antlers. And then we're going to take that light peach pie and we're just going to fill that in. You have no pie. You should keep pie in the house, especially for Mondays, I guess. So sorry. Hopefully you have some ice cream or cookies or something that you can grab, Penny. I'm sorry. Now, the other cool thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that dark peach pie again, and I'm going to go into his fur. So I kept it kind of lighter towards his scarf. And I'm going to blend all around his scarf kind of area with this peach pie, and it's going to blend in with the pecan, but it's going to brighten up and lighten up his fur. And we're going to do the same thing up around his face. So you'll notice that that has brightened up that area, and he really looks quite furry now too, I've noticed. So don't be afraid to kind of blend other colors in with your main color. So, I wanted him to be brown, but I just brightened it up with that peach. You add yellow, especially to like flowers and things. That's another really good thing. Oh, you have leftover cake. Thank goodness. Send some my way. I have no leftover cake. The red velvet is all gone. So for those of you that are not friends with me on Facebook, my son's birthday was last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And he loves red velvet cake. So I, of course, made him a red velvet cake, as I do pretty much every year. And it was funny because we asked him, I'm just using our Poppy Parade here, and I'm not going into too much shading like on his skates. I'm just going all one color. And also don't be afraid to leave a little white space around the edges. And oops, that was light. So I guess I'll do dark on the tops. But yes, so we had asked him, do you want us to take you out for dinner? No. Do you want anything special at home for dinner? No. Do you want cake? Yes. Because he knew I would make him red velvet cake. So, and the nice part about that is then we get red velvet cake too. So for many days. And I was very disciplined this time and only had one piece of cake per day. So he looks like he's ready to shed. He does look like he's ready to shed. He's molting. So I've given him some shaded spruce socks. And now we'll do our other stripes in the shaded spruce. So I've kind of just done a little bit of an L bit of shading. So that's the dark shaded spruce. And then I'll come back in with the light and just blend that in. It's such a small area, you probably, it's probably like a waste of time, but I like to, pretend that I'm a talented artist. So, and there we go. So he was really pretty easy to color. I used a lot of colors. You could totally just do like red and white striped scarf and just leave off the green altogether. Maybe just leave his skates white, so you don't have to go to all this effort, but it was very, very easy. And I wanted to show you how if you add a different color than your main color, like that peach, that it just brightens up that whole area and it really can change the tone. So with your blends, play around a little bit just on like scrap cardstock. And I will say, do it on cardstock, like on your basic white, not on your like copy paper. Thanks, Julie. Because it's going to be a different effect. So the cardstock is definitely taking the ink different than like copy paper would or a scrap paper. So definitely use a cardstock. It can just be a scrap that you're going to throw away. Like if you have those little half-inch strips that we all seem to have. Those would be a good use for that. So let me pull you back up because we're going to do a little die cutting. This darn thing. All right. I got you kind of straight now, at least. I don't want to make you dizzy or seasick. Okay. So get our platforms out. So you can see I already die cut a couple of trees because I didn't want you to have to watch me do that 3 times. But I also wanted to show you, you can see there's this little hole at the top of the tree die. And that is actually what we call, I think it's an extraction hole, something like that. But you can put your, take your pick tool, the pokey end through there to get the die out if you need to. But the other thing I have noticed is when you have a stamped image that has like just a line like that at the top, if I line this up, so I'm lining up the trunk here, and I can see that that's off center. Well, if I just keep kind of turning it until I can see the tip of that tree through the hole, then I know I've got it lined up right. And I know you probably can't see that on camera, which is why I explained what I was doing there. It's hard for me to see through my light as well. So I'm just going to guess. All right, a little bit of Post-it tape. Let's keep that in mind. Let's get our Moosey Moose. And when you're die cutting with Stampin' Up! Dies, your dies will come right to the edge of the image. I know some other dies will leave the white border around the edge of the die. Ours, the cutting line is actually set back a little bit, so you can line that right up with the edges of the image. I find that easier to get a good even cut with it. When we used to use the another brand, I had trouble sometimes. The white outlines were not always even, which I'm a little persnickety when it comes to things like that. It's just one of those things. And so, you know, I like things to be even. And so I find I have an easier time with our Stampin' Up! Dies. Plus, I love the fact that Stampin' Up's like the king of coordination. They just, everything, you know, stamps, colors, die cuts, punches, everything just coordinates. So it makes your crafting so much easier. All right, let's do some assembly. I think that's where we are. I just want to make sure that I have not messed anything up here. Okay, yeah, we are good. Where are my, here we go. Let me put my dies and my stamps to the side so I can find all the rest of my stuff. So when you're making this, you'll need like little scraps of Poppy Parade and shaded spruce, but I have already pre-die cut those. And then I've got just a little strip of white, and I'm just going to take scissors because I no longer have a die that like does this kind of thing. So if you do, then you can skip this part. But basically, I'm just going to hand cut some little snow hills. That's it. Super easy. Doesn't matter like how it really comes out, right? It just cut it up. All right, so it's a little longer than my cardstock, which is pretty much what I wanted. So I'm just going to put a line of liquid glue down there because that'll give me some wiggle room. Okay, and then if you flip it over, you can just trim those ends. So then it's even. So anything I have like that that I need it to be the exact same length. I mean, we're all humans. So if you take your trimmer out and you try to cut something at exactly 5 1/4 inches, and the next thing at exactly 5 1/4 inches, they're probably not going to be exactly the same length. So I tend to cut one of them a little bit bigger than I needed, and that way I can just trim it. So there we go with that. We can put this on our main card. I'm taking a little bit of a risk here, I guess, because I haven't stamped my greeting yet, but that's okay. I have confidence. It's going to go great. Okay, so we have a couple of extra trees that I die cut before, and we have swag and a little red bow. It's all going to go on our card. And I will point out too on the dies that these little swag pieces are slightly different. This one's a little thinner and they are made to layer on each other. So if I cut like 2 different colors of green, I could have a 2-layer swag and it would look really, really pretty. I was going for simple on this one. So, okay. So we're just going to take, and I'm actually going to use my tweezers because super helpful for skinny things and little things. I'll take a little bit of the liquid glue. I don't want a lot because there are little cutouts in this to give it texture, and I don't want the glue like seeping through there. So I just want to use it sparingly. Get it pretty centered. I have become a lot more lax on the, you know, not being exactly centered. And that bow, I just really need a dot in the middle. Super pretty. Love that. Like, so easy to do and just really jazzes up the card, I think. Okay, let's put some trees on. So the first two trees are just going to go down with our liquid glue, just flat. This one I actually tucked underneath my little snow hill. So kind of one branch was peeking out, the rest of it's buried. And then we're going to get our dimensionals out because we want some dimension. They're there. Like, I knew I had them in my hand earlier. So probably only need one dimensional in the middle of that tree. And then we'll do, I think, 3 on our moose. That should be plenty. And he's going to be down here, so kind of overlapping that tree. It's nice. I've found I do a lot of learning just by looking at what other people do. And when things are kind of touching, quote unquote, I think it grounds it better. So instead of just having a tree floating out here and a moose in the middle, and you know, you want things a little off center, maybe you want things that are overlapping and touching so that they're kind of grounded to another element. All right, now we need our sentiments. And that is just this happy holidays, which I think is going to get a lot of use this year because seriously, look at that. It does not want you to look at it. There we go. It's a very simple, classic font, and just your happy holidays. So if you don't know somebody super well and you're like, I don't know, do they celebrate Christmas, whatever, you can do the happy holidays if you want to go that route. Some people just send Christmas to everybody and that's fine too. So it's kind of up to you, isn't it? And that's what I love about homemade cards is you can do them however you want. Okay, so we just want that to be centered right under that little swag. And there we go. So my swag is definitely off center. I took the time Friday to measure it out, you can tell. And again, handmade. So there are definitely going to be differences. Every card is going to be a little different. I love that. Okay, I did promise you alternatives, and I do have them. So months ago, I think I remember telling you about how to, oh, you thought it was designer paper on there. Yeah, it does kind of look like that, right? But no, it just really needed it. I just had the smoky slate there and I was like, it just needs something. And I didn't have the right embossing folder. And then I remembered this great stamp. So, and that's a nice thing. Like if you were making this card for the holidays and you were making multiples, as many of us do, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I'd have to heat dry all those layers of snow, but you wouldn't. You just do an assembly line kind of thing. And you do all of your gray layers and just stamp them all like at once and lay them out on your counter or wherever you can. And the next night you come back and they're all dry and you can finish your assembly. So, okay. So a few months ago, I think it was, I had told you about stepping your card down or stepping your card up. So if this is a little more involved than you like, I've got a simplified version. And basically, anytime you see a card and you're like, that's too much, or I don't have all those supplies, if you take like 3 things off, you can simplify it. So what I did was I took away the smoky slate cardstock and the snow and the dimensionals. And we just did a 1 layer with that cute moose. And I did do a masking effect. So the tree still looked behind it and the tree still looked behind that moose. Did the same coloring and everything, no die cuts. So it's just a super simple, clean and simple card, which I absolutely love, a clean and simple card. So there's your stepped down version. And then occasionally I want to go crazy and step it up. And I have trouble stepping it up because this kind of middle ground is usually where I live. So even this is quite a bit for me. But if you want to step it up, then you want to add 3 things, right? So for the next one, I added the circle die out of the die cut set. I added a shaded spruce card base, and I added those presents I was telling you about. So here is the result of that one. And I basically made kind of a snow globe effect here. So you can see I've got that thinner swag on the bottom. I still have my snow on my smoky slate, but I die cut it in that circle and then added my trees. I had the happy holidays off to the side. And here are those cool presents. So let me show you the die set again so you can see. So here's the presents. Here's the little cross-cut ribbons, and then there are 2 different bows you can choose from to put bows on your presents. Super simple. I did use adhesive sheets for those because those are super skinny, and that was going to be a pain in the patootie to put liquid glue on. So I did use my adhesive sheets for those. So there you go. You have your simple, you have your medium, you have your wah stepped up version that basically you're going to make one for a very special person. And that is how we do it here, right? So let me see here. Just want to check. All right. So this bundle, again, is going to be available to general public starting on Wednesday, which is September 4th. And also coming on September 4th is a new scrapbooking brochure. So let me pop up here so I can chat with you because I don't have anything to show you for this. So, but last spring, Stampin' Up! Was in talks with Close to My Heart, which was another direct sales company. They focused more on scrapbooking. So they had stamps and cardstock and inks and all of that, but it was more scrapbooking focused, whereas we got away from scrapbooking a few years ago. So yeah, right? Holy cats, how is Wednesday, September 4th already? It's coming up fast, folks. So, but yes, so Close to My Heart, unfortunately, closed its doors in, I believe it was July. And so in the spring, when they knew this was coming, they let all their makers know and customers and whatnot. And Stampin' Up! Ended up acquiring the company and a lot of their inventory and images, things like that. I'm not sure, I wasn't involved in the deal, so I'm not sure everything that was involved. But for a couple of months, they had a stock of inventory of Close to My Heart products, and they were offering them, but they were only available to former makers, which is what they called their consultants, or former customers. So you had to be like a registered customer, use the same email that you used to buy from them for, and you could buy this product. The reason being is because we only had a limited supply of it, so we couldn't offer it out to the entire world or even the entire country. So now what they have done is incorporated Close to My Heart's products and have fast-tracked some things to coordinate with a lot of the things in our new mini catalog. So there are suites and items and stuff in this mini catalog that are also coordinate with the things in the scrapbooking brochure. So I did share a link to that brochure in last week's email newsletter. If you don't subscribe to my email newsletter yet, please, please, please click on the link in the video description and get subscribed to that. It's absolutely free, comes out about once a week, and it's full of good information. So I will share that link again this week. If you want it earlier or right now, just shoot me a DM and I will send you the link to that brochure as well. It's full of lots of really fun stuff, kits that make it easy to scrapbook. So if you're just getting into that, this will make it a little easier. If you're just curious and want to take a peek, you can do that too. And obviously, all of those products can be used for things other than scrapbooking. So, okay, that's all I have for you tonight. So thanks so much for joining me. This is your reminder that if you picked up any tips or inspiration, I'd love it if you'd share the video with your friends so that they can also get those tips and inspiration. So until next week, I'm still Nan Gerlitz. Happy stamping.